The Assassin's Creed franchise is one of the most notorious gaming franchises of all time. Over 200 million copies of Assassin's Creed games have been sold. With that kind of money, you could buy every slave in America ever, and you would still have tens of millions of dollars left over. Sounds like a good deal to me. But over the years, and I mean basically like the last 10 years, the franchise has been in some weird limbo. But the thing that time and time again keeps saving the franchise is something called nostalgia. Nostalgia is an absolute trip. Nostalgia sometimes hits harder than heroin needles. Test it out if you don't believe me. Like, it's crazy. Like, if you're my age, here's some nostalgia that will probably make you trip out a bit.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
If that didn't make you feel old and possibly, just possibly, suicidal, I think I know what will if you're an Assassin's Creed fan.
It is a good life we lead, brother.
The best. May it never change.
And may it never change us.
That's the feeling when you get when your doctor tells you that you tested negative for HIV. But if you haven't played Assassin's Creed 2, that was where it was from. Assassin's Creed 2 was when the Assassin's Creed franchise took a giant leap forward, where people were like, yeah, this franchise is now up there with games like Halo, Grand Theft Auto, the Arkham games, and all the big franchises that were eating on the big boy table. When Assassin's Creed 2 dropped, people fell in love with the setting, the music, the splashy gameplay, the nearly perfect pacing, Mario the Uncle, Christina the Freak, and also, and most importantly, the protagonist, Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
You should find an outlet.
I have plenty of outlets.
I meant besides vaginas.
Mother.
His witty, perfect self was so good that we got two other games with the same protagonist right after. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Assassin's Creed Revelations. These games came out with pretty decent praise. These games were not really seen as like a magnum opus of gaming like Assassin's Creed 2 was, you know? Like, no one thought these games had the potential to like end racism or anything, but people enjoyed them a lot. But now we get to Assassin's Creed 3 and the beginning of the Kenway saga. Now let me just say right now before everyone throws pitchforks at me, I absolutely love Assassin's Creed 3. It is the game that I will defend my life with. I love everything about it, the dark tone, the dynamic combat, the insane mission designs, talking to slave owners like they didn't do anything wrong. I loved all of it. But when it comes to most people when the game came out, people said it was just good. Now just good isn't bad. Just good is like getting some Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, it ain't bad, but I'm not gonna bring a 10 out of 10 white girl I met on Tinder to some KFC. You know what I mean? This is something that's not gonna work. But here's where nostalgia comes into the picture. If you ask an old school Assassin's Creed fan about Assassin's Creed 3, all of them will say it's a better game in the franchise. Again, I personally love Assassin's Creed 3, and yes, as a die-hard Assassin's Creed fan, it is one of the best games of all time for me. But just because you motherfuckers now realize it's a great game because of nostalgia, and because you miss who you were at that time, doesn't mean you loved it as much as I did back then. Like, it is insane how much nostalgia plays a role in calling these older games a beacon of greatness for the gaming franchise of Assassin's Creed. And it's insane because most of the time, when it comes to nostalgia, those times kind of sucked as well.
Like, you could have had the worst childhood ever and been a child labor slave getting paid 2 cents a day, but you remember peak Cartoon Network times and that cancels out everything bad that ever happened.
And nostalgia makes things feel better than they actually are. The best example of this is by far the game Fortnite. When Chapter 1 of Fortnite came to a close, everyone agreed that Season 2 to Season 4 of Fortnite was prime Fortnite. That's when it had the most people, playing and coming, and then when Fortnite Chapter 2 finished, a few years later, everyone started saying the entire Chapter 1 was prime Fortnite, and that it had no bad seasons. And then when Chapter 3 finished a year later, everyone started saying that Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 were prime Fortnite. And the same thing happened with Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 and soon Chapter 5. So nostalgia and time makes things feel so much better. Because times used to be simpler for everyone. And the same applies to Assassin's Creed. Now Assassin's Creed 4 is a game where it's like 99% positive reviews when the game came out. It was seen as like the pinnacle of the pirate fantasy. I'm not even into pirates, but that game had even me wanting to like go to Somalia and plunder with the scary folk over there. But unfortunately my mom said no. But Assassin's Creed 4, over its decade lifespan, it held a pretty clean reputation. The only thing people dislike about it is like the tailing missions and the modern day plot. But just 1 year later, we would get Assassin's Creed Unity. When this game released, people said that this game was the pinnacle of ass. But now, the game is 10 years old, and this is seen as the biggest hidden gems in all of gaming. People love Assassin's Creed Unity in the 2020s, just like how people love Fortnite Chapter 2 nowadays. But the crazy thing about Unity is that people hated it at launch because of the bugs, and in the 20s, 10 plus years later, the game is still a buggy mess.
At this very moment that I just paused the game, you can see in the distance, there's just a chunk of building missing. See that? Right above his head? There's just a piece of the building missing.
But here's the craziest thing when it comes to Assassin's Creed Unity. It didn't get its redemption because of nostalgia. It got its redemption because it's basically the best of the old ways. Everything people love about Unity is what they loved about games like AC2 and Brotherhood and 3. People love the stealth, the parkour, the assassin fantasy, and that's why it came back. But a game that didn't get a redemption is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. This game did not get any love that Unity got, because it is essentially a downgrade in every way, besides maybe like the story and the graphics. But here's the thing, because of nostalgia, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is still seen in a much better light than it was at launch. It may have not had a redemption, but people nowadays say yes, Syndicate is worth trying. That's not something Assassin's Creed fans used to say, man. And yeah, this might not be nostalgia, it's more so time. It's very similar to what like Halo fans do with Halo. I know this because it's my favorite franchise and I talk about it so much. But when Halo 4 came out, everyone said it was good, but not great. But when Halo 5 came out, everyone said Halo 4 was actually underrated. And when Halo Infinite came out, everyone started saying Halo 5 was underrated. And now that Halo Infinite is coming to an end, people are gonna start saying it's also underrated. And that's what happened with Syndicate. People aren't saying it's amazing, but it's now seen as underrated. And is it underrated? No, motherfucker. This game has a 9 out of 10 on Steam, a 4.5 out of 5 on Amazon. This game ain't underrated, but this game is still good. I do enjoy it, but to say that people who enjoy this game now would also enjoy it when the game came out, that's just wrong. That's just false. Time healed this game, and this was when the Assassin's Creed developers, Ubisoft, started making nostalgia a key part of Assassin's Creed. We got Assassin's Creed Origins, and a very familiar song with it. This was when Ubisoft started to use manipulation tactics towards its fanbase. They started using the soundtrack of Assassin's Creed 2, the most iconic song in the franchise, and used it for all of their games. And it was a brilliant marketing play. They would use them in essentially every trailer to make you remember that you're playing an Assassin's Creed game. And the music was basically like a subliminal message. Subliminal messaging is kind of like messaging your crush, "Hey, happy birthday," and sending an eggplant emoji in between all the letters. It's the same pretty manipulative stuff. And Ubisoft added old music to their trailers to basically say, hey, you know those old feelings when you were a kid and played Assassin's Creed 2? Yeah, you can go back to that if you give us $100 for this new game. And let's just say it worked wonders for their marketing. But here's the thing. Is it really that bad? Is it really that bad to use nostalgia to manipulate your customers? Is it bad that your customers want to feel young again? I'm gonna go with a no. Nostalgia does 100% ruin gaming to some degree. I don't doubt that. A YouTuber I watched while researching this video, he said it perfectly.
If you're feeling like there is nothing left to play, nothing to do, you're not enjoying playing games anymore, and just want the good old days back, I've been there. And it even made me quit gaming for a bit because that nostalgia feeling is just so overpowering. So effective at pestering you anytime you try something that feels similar but is supposed to be new. I think it's just about letting go. Maybe replay some of those old games and potentially realize maybe those new games aren't as bad or time wasting as you think. Because deep down, and this is just my perspective, I just think we want to be kids again.
Nostalgia probably carries us in many ways that we probably don't even know of. There's a bunch of YouTube video essays that do a much better job explaining at it, and I'm low-key in that rabbit hole right now. And obviously this doesn't just apply to games. Even movies and shows do this as well. Like when season 2 of House of the Dragon came out, they came out with the Stark theme song, and immediately got everyone who loved Game of Thrones. They fell right back into the universe. But man, without nostalgia, Ubisoft would have so much work to do for the people to overlook their mistakes and to fix their terrible reputation. But yeah, that's it for this video. Like, subscribe, and peace.